Let's switch over to surrogacy. I think that's really important. How is this so different depending on where you are? And what generally are the surrogacy laws in the States?
Sure. So what we do, regardless of the state, is you have a contract that just says what everybody's intentions are. So the contracts, regardless of the state that they're coming from, tend to lay out what everybody is entering into the arrangement wanting anyway. That the surrogate is going to carry the parent's child. The embryo is going to be created using not her genetic material. So most of the surrogacy that we do nowadays are what we call gestational surrogacy arrangements. Back in the 80s and 90s, this was traditional surrogacy where the surrogate mother was also the egg donor because we weren't doing IVF at that point. We were just doing IUI or ICI to inseminate the surrogate. It was her egg, sperm from either a donor or from the intended father. And then they would basically do a hybrid adoption to give up their parental rights because they're a 50% genetic parent of the child to the intended parents as a whole. Nowadays, with gestational surrogacy, we don't run into any of those problems. And there are still some places in some states where people will do traditional surrogacy. It's just very less common. So the vast majority of the cases that we do are all gestational surrogacy. That makes it much cleaner from a legalistic standpoint because we don't have to worry about the surrogate also having not only just like a claim to parental rights, but a biological claim there as well. Mm-hmm. So the contract basically says surrogate will carry the baby. She understands that once baby's born, it's going to be discharged to them, raised by them, named by them. There's no obligations that she has. There's no financial support that can come back and ask her for help to support the child. Everybody wants that, everybody intends that, and that's great. The issue we run into is the reality for parentage is that it's still all governed by state law. So when the baby's born, wherever that baby happens to be born, it's that state's administrative system, that state's vital record system that's going to put together the birth certificate. Different states treat what we're doing with surrogacy very differently. More states are coming on board with the idea of what we call pre-birth orders, which just means that in the middle of the pregnancy, the lawyers can get together, file the documents with the court saying, hey, judge, the surrogate's carrying a baby. It doesn't belong to her. It actually belongs to this intended parent or these intended parents. Here's everyone's declaration saying that's how we got here. Can you sign this judgment? So when the baby's born, the hospital knows and everybody else knows this baby belongs to the intended parent. Those are great and very helpful because we can get those usually in the middle of the second, early third trimester, way before due date is expected. And so we're just waiting for baby to be born and we have that already ready for us.
Versus scrambling when you're doing all of the things post-birth.
Yeah, post-birth. But there are some states that so like I'm in Idaho, and for a long time, we were a caution state for surrogacy because we were a post-birth state that only allowed genetic parents to go on the initial birth certificate. So if you used a donor or if you were a male gay couple and only one dad is the biological dad of the parent, the other one's not going on the birth certificate initially. You have to go back home or wherever else and do like a step-parent adoption to add the second person on. And there are still a handful of states that do that. I think Tennessee still is that way. We're trying to get away from that because we're trying to de-link the genetics to the parentage, which is a continuing trend, which is going in the right direction. Idaho, we just passed a surrogacy statute in July of this year that basically got rid of that. So now
that's great.
It makes it where everyone can be a parent. There's no marriage requirement. There's no genetic requirement. It doesn't dictate who has to be what parent, same-sex couples, individual parents. We're still a post-birth state, though. And some states do that because they say, look, we're not going to adjudicate a case about a potential person that's not here yet.
Hi, I hope you loved this little excerpt of Stork'd, the podcast where we talk about all things family building and families. This was a little taste of the bigger episode. We call it a Stork'd Munchkin. If you love what you heard, I highly encourage you to check out the full episode wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find it on the Stork'd website at storkdpodcast.com. If you're in the process of building your own family or exploring what family means to you and you want to stay up to date on all relevant topics related to family building, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. It's called Let's Start a Family and it is found on Substack. Happy listening.